Coming up on a special edition of Power in Politics, we take a peek inside the heads of the presidential and vice presidential candidates ahead of Election Day 2024 as we lean on longtime practicing psychologist and my co-host, Dr. Bart Rossi, to get an idea of how they may lead us in the years ahead. Hello and welcome to another edition of Power in Politics. I'm your host, Frank Cipolla. Power in Politics is a right-down-the-middle look at the top stories affecting the state, with a special emphasis on the psychology behind the decisions and issues that affect our lives. I want to welcome my co-host, Emmy Award-winning political psychologist and practicing psychologist, Dr. Bart Rossi. Doctor, welcome.
Great to be here again, Frank.
All right. Well, this is a special edition of Power in Politics in that we are going to use our main resource, Dr. Rossi, to put Kamala Harris, Governor Tim Walz, former President Donald Trump, and Senator J.D. Vance on the couch to examine their personalities from a psychological standpoint. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Rossi has 2 master's degrees in psychology and has practiced for almost 40 years. Before we begin this exercise of qualifier, you and I have never met either of the 4 candidates, number one. And number 2, this is not an endorsement of any of the candidates. We're just, for lack of a better description, going to put them on the couch, use you to psychoanalyze them if we can. Okay, so let's take Kamala Harris first.
Okay, I am board certified also as a clinical psychologist.
I beg your pardon.
Yes, I just want to put all of those, all that background in play here, okay? And when I look at Harris, I see a different kind of a personality emerging here for America. She is pushing herself as Miss Future, if you will. She's trying to say that she and her ticket, with Walz on the ticket, is the future for America, where we should be going. And she has one trait that I would probably highlight, and that is she's trying to project herself as the best listener in terms of what America needs to go forward. And she's doing that by saying, I am the person for women and women of choice. I'm the person who has ideas on how to solve Ukraine and the war there and how to deal with the border issue. But more practically, she's presenting herself as someone with a vision of the future, with the best personality traits that she can muster, and do all of that in this campaign. That's how I see her.
Well, Election Day is fast approaching. Anything could happen, obviously.
Right.
But can you ride your campaign to Election Day just on optimism?
It can't be just optimism, but it could be joy, optimism, a vision of the future, tie in where she wants to go. Of course, with women, that's a given. And
she has support among.
Yeah, and also on some of the other issues, she could just say something about the border and make it pretty simple about the bipartisan bill. She's for that. She's for support of Ukraine and what they stand for there. She doesn't have to get into the weeds, as you say all the time, but she has to present a winning personality in terms of the future.
All right. Let's talk about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The other presidential candidate this time around. If you had to put him on the couch as a psychologist, board certified,
right.
what do you see inside his head?
Well, Frank, there's something about Donald Trump that, and I don't say this to be negative. It may sound harsh, but he has always been the kind of person who says things, and they may or may not be true, but he wants everybody else to believe that what he says is a fact and reality. That's him. He's the ultimate boss. In other words, even if he says something that may not be truthful, okay, politicians, we all have spin everywhere, of course, but even if he says something that's not truthful, he believes that people should believe it as fact. And by the way, it's been successful. He's taken a chapter out of Roy Cohn, the famous, or I should say infamous attorney from the 1980s, and he's made this his way, his modus of operandi. He really wants to project that he can fix it. He can fix what's wrong with America. He's going to stick with that. He said it in 2016. He's sticking with that right now. I'm the boss. I'm the authoritarian personality. I can fix it. And that's what we're seeing.
All right, 30 seconds apiece. Let's take Trump. If you were to advise his campaign with regard to what it is he needs to do to, in your case, be more forward-thinking maybe, what would you recommend?
He needs to stick to the issues, how he contrasts himself with the Democratic Party, and he needs to have a focus, which he's had trouble doing at times. He needs to have a focus on what he stands for, and he needs to do it in a more fluid manner than we've seen in some cases.
Kamala Harris.
Harris needs to project on this momentum that she's had. She needs to project what she's going to do for the future, why she's a more joyful, more positive person, and how that could be a winning strategy for her.
Okay, again, this is not an endorsement of
No,
either candidate.
no.
We're just putting them on the couch. We have this resource here. You are the psychologist for
Those
almost
are-
40 years.
Those are my thoughts. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Now one of our regular segments, a commentary from Dr. Bart Rossi that we call the Rossi Rant.
And Frank, taking off from what we just said, what are the traits and characteristics of a winning campaign? We talk about a winning personality, but Frank, every campaign has a personality. And on a go-forward basis, what I think is most important for any campaign is to have one central issue. What do you stand for? Not all of the issues, not all of the factors involved, but what do you stand for as a person running for office, or in this case, the presidency? And what I'm seeing is, of course, on one side, we have a projection of the future and a candidate in Harris who is trying to look at the future and say, this is what I believe in going forward. And we have another candidate in Donald Trump who has been very effective in taking a look at what's wrong with America and saying, here I am. I'm the guy who can fix it. I said it in 2016. I can fix this. I'm the guy who can do right by America.
Either way, going to be an interesting race.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, a peek inside the two vice presidential candidates' heads and a wild card when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla, joined by political psychologist and practicing psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. Well, the good doctor is in on this edition of Power and Politics as we're taking a closer look into the psychological makeup of all four major candidates for president and vice president this year. If you missed it, we, in the last segment, analyzed Democratic candidate for president Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. This time we're looking at the VP picks, and we're going to start with Tim Walz. Governor Tim Walz, if you had him on the couch, if he came to your office and sat down and you chatted with him, what kind of personality does he have?
Well, Frank, I think he comes across for most people as a winning personality. You may not agree with all of his positions on policy, but he works very hard at being comfortable in his own skin, who he presents himself to be. Okay, he's very good at that. And he's also consistent on the issues. Some people may disagree with his policy, but he's very consistent. He said at one time, somebody was hollering at him, well, you're in the pocket of the union. He said, no, I am the pocket. So he's got some humor, and he's also a very good listener. He listens to people, and he wants to hear what they have to say. And he's also the person for everybody. He's Mr. Everybody.
Well, I'm not a psychologist.
That's his personality.
I'm not a psychologist. He is not the quintessential politician.
No.
Certainly not.
No, he's not.
And I don't know if that's a benefit to Kamala Harris, because at times he could come off as too every guy man.
Yes, because he may come across too much that way and not meaningful without substance on the issues.
Right.
And actually, he puts joy and fun into his personality. He projects that.
But
that's a
do
good
people
thing.
want a vice president who's joyful and likes to have a lot of fun?
Good point. I have a feeling there's more positive than negative in that.
There is one thing, and I think we both agree on. He is real. Whoever he
He's real.
is,
Oh, yeah.
he is real, and that's good. But he's not the quintessential politician.
No.
But maybe that'll help.
His
Especially in the
personality,
Midwest.
his personality will mean something in this election. We'll see where it goes.
All right, J.D. Vance, we're going to put him on the couch now. He's come to your office. He says, doctor, analyze me, if you will. I'm lying on the couch. J.D. Vance is to me sometimes a puzzle. What do you say?
Well, psychologists talk about conflict all the time, approach avoidance conflicts and, approach at conflicts. To me, he is a walking conflict of a person. And I don't mean this to be overly critical, but I'm still puzzled as to why he was chosen to be the VP, because he seems to be very, very motivated by fame, going forward, making money and dollars. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also a conflict on the other side where he's saying things about women that are just remarkably ignorant. I mean, just really, for a well-educated person, you would never say that in any company. It doesn't make any sense.
I've read his book. He has said that he grew up in abject poverty.
Right.
All right. That he is the American success story.
He has some traits, that may be there, but he doesn't appear to be the greatest listener. He doesn't seem to be that consistent on the issues. He's flip-flopped. He really disliked Donald Trump, and he made it clear.
And doesn't, as a psychologist, wouldn't that worry you if someone flip-flops like that so quickly?
Yes, because...
What does it say about his personality?
Because what it says is we don't really know who he is and what he stands for. And that makes you feel nervous, makes you feel anxious about what are you getting here? What are you getting as a person? A lot of people would say, I'd rather have somebody else who maybe I didn't like that much, but at least I know where they stand. We're not sure where he stands on the issues and who he is as a person. That's a problem, I think, for the Republican Party right now.
For me, at least, and we're not endorsing anybody, he remains a bit of a puzzle.
Yes, I think that a more mainstream choice would have been better.
Well, you never know. Could be time to switch out. I don't know.
No, I don't think that's. I don't think that's happening.
All right, let's talk about. I promised you in the last segment a wild card, and the wild card is RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
He had a worm in his head. He admitted it. Not fatal, of course, obviously. He had the bear story a while back, where he took a bear off the turnpike or the thruway in New York. He put it in the back of his truck. He brought it, went to a party, left it at Central Park. That's, to me, is the real weird, if you ask me. What is his personality like? What does his personality say to you?
This is a guy that I think is really quite unsure of himself underneath the surface.
Even after all these years of being in the spotlight?
Yeah, but he wants to be in the spotlight. He wants to be somebody in the Kennedy family that steps it up and is somebody. And he's trying too hard. I don't think he's coming across well, because the more people see of him, the more they become confused and they move towards what you just said, weird. They just see this person as being strange and not, I always say comfortable in your own skin.
Yes.
Sometimes he doesn't look comfortable with himself and what he's saying. It looks like it's like a mystery. He's saying things and then you're trying to figure out, well, what did he just say? The bear story, for example, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't even make sense that could happen.
And if you haven't heard it, Google it.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. You have to worry about some of his actions.
Yeah.
If you're inclined to vote for him.
Another person who's not consistent. You don't know where he's going. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we become meteorologists, Dr. Rossi and me, as we take a look at who was in the sunshine this week and who got soaked in our always popular segment, Sunshine or Showers, when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. We all know about the weather in Florida, don't we? It can change on a dime. It's the same in the world of politics and in general. So every week we take some time talking about who was in the sunshine for the week and who got caught without an umbrella. It's time for our always popular segment, Sunshine or Showers. We start with the sunshine. You want to start with the sunshine. Who's in the sunshine?
I have a clinic in the sunshine. It's the Lighthouse Point Health Clinic near Pompano Beach here in Florida. And it's a very interesting type of clinic because they don't use medication. There's no surgery there. They use all kinds of different methods to deal with pain, like hypnosis, psychology, dealing with anxiety, health-related eating habits, diet, weight control. And they're very successful in helping people get past some of their illnesses, their pain, and problems that they're having in terms of being overweight, perhaps. But it's a clinic that's gaining a lot of popularity because they're not using medication and they're not using surgical procedures to try to solve health problems. I kind of like it. It's a blend of psychology, a blend of common sense medical approach, and it's gaining a lot of popularity. And I put them in the sunshine.
All right, there's more than one way to cure a person.
More than one way, yep.
Absolutely, okay.
And how about for you now?
Me? Okay,
yes.
I'm putting, and they're not a sponsor, I'm putting the Tampa Energy Company in the sunshine. TECO, it's known as TECO. What they're doing is they're extending these measures to help you seal your house, to insulate your house, and they're doing it to low-income families and others in an effort to cut down, obviously, on your electric bill and help them as well. They don't have to do that. You know, they're a major company. They're in business to make money for the most part. So I'm going to tip my hat to Tico.
Very good. That's
Not the man, just
that's a good-
Tico.
that's
Not
a good
Tico
one.
and the man, just Tico.
That's a good one.
That's an inside joke for some people of a certain age. Okay. All right. So we had the sunny days.
Yes.
Now the showers come. Who is in the showers for you this week?
I have a lot of showers for the politicians here in Florida, all of them, who are making it difficult for this amendment on abortion to pass.
Amendment 4.
The Amendment 4, they're trying to make this one hurdle after another after another. A big problem for me having it at 60%. Of course, it should be the majority rule, but they've gone past that already. I think it will still pass, but they're making it harder and harder. And I think it could backfire. It's another example of them being so insistent on being far, far right and extreme that I think it's coming back to actually hurt them with these hurdles.
All right. So they are in the
Showers.
showers. Okay.
How about for you? What do you have?
Well, let me tell you something. For those who don't know, Dr. Rossi claims that he has never had a snack, never in his life. You know, his mother never came up to him and said, while he was watching cartoons, Bart, have a snack. Here's some milk and cookies. You claim you've never had a snack.
Never had a snack.
All right, I'm putting the companies that make these snacks in the showers this week. All of them. And I'll tell you why, because I like to snack. I'm a snacker. You have 3 square meals a day.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's
you
it.
Don't, I snack. I graze. I'm always eating nuts and chips and so on. I bought a bag of potato chips the other day. I'm not kidding.
What are they? What is that? What is that? What is that?
60% of it was air. It was like a few chips in a balloon.
See?
And this is not right. You know, where I come from, we would say, come on, man. Come on, this is not right. The chips companies, the snack companies, and you don't eat snacks because I know I'm on the front line of the snacks, okay? They have to stop this. There's no supply chain issues anymore. We're well past COVID. So the snack companies, those who make snacks, you are in the showers.
Well, that's okay with me because I'm not a snacker.
You're not a snacker.
I'm pretty
I'm a
rigid.
snacker.
I know I'm
Okay.
kind of rigid when it comes to this, but it's me.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's time for a commentary by yours truly titled, Let's Be Frank, when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back. Come November 5th, millions of us will head to the polls and choose a candidate for president. It's important, as Election Day grows near, to remember what happened 4 years ago. Based on long debunked claims, the loser in that election, former President Donald Trump, insisted he won. Most reasonable people know he did not. There were more than 60 court challenges in many states claiming illegal votes were cast or suppressed, and every one of those cases were thrown out, in some cases by judges appointed by the former president. In this reporter's humble opinion, looking back is not a way to win an election. While we wish all the candidates well, claiming something was true 4 years ago doesn't help Americans right now who are living on the margins, deal with inflation and other problems. What was can't be changed. Presidential candidates who are successful lay out a vision of what can be. For those who support the former president this time around, I would urge you to read about where he stands on the important issues of the day, how he can help you, not just repeat a catchy bumper sticker slogan, which is easy to understand but can't fix a complicated problem. It might make some voters feel better if a complex problem seems easy to fix, but most problems are not. Otherwise, they would have been fixed already. As an example, in 2016, the former president promised to repeal the Affordable Care Act and replace it with a better health care plan for a fraction of the cost. Sounded great on the campaign trail, but as we all know, it did not happen. A month after he took office, he was quoted as saying, "Nobody knew health care could be so complicated." Mexico was supposed to pay for the border wall. The former president tried mightily to get it done, but even the modest improvements that were made were not paid by Mexico. In a previous show, I said public service is serious business, but it's only as serious as we want it to be. It's not a reality show. It's not a wrestling match. It's about the future we all want. I speak to Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. This November, think long and hard before you cast your ballot. We need a plan, not wishful thinking. We'll be right back. That's it for this week's edition of Power and Politics. On behalf of my co-host, political and clinical psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi, and everyone working behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. As always, we'd like to know what you think. Visit us at powerandpolitics.tv or email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. We'll see you again a week from now at this time and on this same station. Have a great week.